Just good at ordering at restaurants, I think. It's a talent of mine. Hey guys, I'm Isabel from Houston, the melting pot of Texas. What is it again? Let me just say it really quick. Hey, I'm Isabel from Houston, Texas's melting pot. Hey guys, I'm Isabel from Houston, the melting pot of Texas, and I'm here to help you cheat your way through your favorite Asian recipes. So today we are making chicken pho. Before we get anywhere, let's do a little language lesson so you don't get any dirty stares when you're ordering it at a Vietnamese restaurant. So it's not pho, it is pho with like a U sound kinda. It feels wrong, but it's right, I promise. So I grew up in Houston, very, very close to Chinatown, Asian town. It's called Chinatown, but I wanna say like 85% of the restaurants there are Vietnamese. It's just known as Chinatown. So I think I've eaten as much Vietnamese and Chinese food as I have anything else. So this is definitely a favorite of mine. And I'm gonna show you how to make it in an Instant Pot. Pho has always been a little bit intimidating for me. There's a lot of stewing and like 24-hour, 48-hour stewing, things like that. No one has time for that. So we're gonna use this little guy today. So why I started making this recipe at home, it kind of started as like a weeknight, easy thing, but also, I mean, just after a night of drinking, it is the easiest thing to just throw into the pot and forget about it, especially if you're nursing a little bit of a hangover. A few years ago, there was actually an article, a scientific study that came out about the best hangover food, and pho was at the top of the list. You're getting all your nutrients in one slurp, so I'm here to help you kind of nurse that next day hangover. So I don't want you to be intimidated by the word pho because I definitely was. Today I'm gonna show you a few little tips and tricks to help you elevate your at-home pho game. Just because you're taking some shortcuts doesn't mean it's not gonna be as good as if you're going to Chinatown. All right, so first we have some spices. We've got your coriander, your clove, and cinnamon sticks. You could just toss all these things in there, but we're gonna brown them and kind of toast them first, and that helps to kind of open up those flavors and just makes it taste that much better. And you can actually do that in your Instant Pot. So you're gonna open your Instant Pot or whatever pressure cooker you have. I just hope it has that like happy little sound. So let's turn it on to the saute function, and that just helps you not do as many dishes. So we're gonna do everything in here today, and let's put it on high heat. Okay, so we're gonna put some oil in there, just enough to coat the bottom. Here we go. And then we're gonna go with our spices. So we've got a tablespoon of coriander seeds, and then just a few cloves. We don't want the flavor to be overpowering, but you still want to taste those like toasty spices and flavors. But they're super, super fragrant. I call pho spices Christmas spices because you smell them and it feels like the holidays. When I'm actually trying a really good bowl of pho and it reminds me of Christmas, I know it's the real deal. We're also using some cinnamon. You can use half a stick, a whole stick. I like mine a little cinnamon forward, so I'm gonna use a whole stick today. Can I break this? Yes. So break your stick in half. I mean, crushing your herbs, if you want to give them a little mortar and pestle action, you can too, but keeping them whole, you can kind of, it'll be easier to take those out later on. So once that oil is hot and shimmering a little bit, all right, so we're gonna put these in here, toast them up a little. Once they start kind of sizzling, you'll hear those sounds. Sometimes the coriander seeds will pop a little bit too, don't freak out, it's supposed to happen. It's starting to smell really, really good already. And that's just an indication of how good this will be. There we go. So it's still on the see, it's popping. It's on the saute mode, and before I get attacked by more coriander, we're gonna get our onions and ginger ready. All right, so we are just, thinks it's the star of the show. All right, we're just gonna slice our onions in half. You can keep the little ends on because all of this that you're putting in now will be strained out later on. So keep it as easy as possible. Why I'm cutting it in half and instead of just putting it in is you want that surface area because you're gonna try and brown and char things a little bit for more flavor. This might be frowned upon, but I don't actually skin my ginger all the time. Some people do. You can skin it with a spoon, like people say, but you're gonna be taking this out anyway, so as long as it's nice and clean and you scrubbed it, just slice it into little strips. There we go. Some people actually like to leave the skins on the onions. I take mine off because it adds a little bit of color to the pho, but it's just your personal preference. I don't think it changes the flavor at all. So I'm gonna add these onions in. You wanna hear that sizzle. Make sure they're making contact with that oil. Okay, and same goes for the ginger. Just kind of squeeze everything in and let that do its thing. If you hear that loud sizzle, you know you're on the right track. You want as much browning as possible to happen. With a traditional bowl of pho, sometimes you even see people charring their vegetables and stuff first before they put them in, and it just elevates that flavor. You can do that, but today we're making it super easy and we're just adding everything to the Instant Pot. Okay, feels like a good day for 3 cloves of garlic. And you're just crushing them, taking off the skins, and popping them in once things start to gain a little bit of color. Okay. And as you can hear, things are progressing in the pot, so it's telling me that it's ready for garlic. Okay, let's put these in there. Let those kind of brown. Check to see if things are gaining some color. Those onions are caramelizing, the spices are toasty. Just gonna move things around a little bit. You want to get some color, but you don't want things to burn. So as things are kind of caramelizing down there, they tend to get a little sticky. Don't freak out. Take advantage of everything that gets stuck down there. We're just gonna put a little splash of water to help move that along and use kind of a sturdy spoon to scrape everything up because that's where all the flavor is. Next, put a small bunch of cilantro. You can use the tops, you can use the bottoms. It's really just for flavor. You're gonna strain everything out later on. So don't worry about how things look right now. So we're gonna use 2 tablespoons of fish sauce. Top tip, don't spill it because you will smell it and then you won't like it. So you've got a little bit of brown down there. Just a little. And you kind of move things around. Make sure all of that flavor is gonna be in your pho later on. So chicken pho is actually called pho ga. So if you see it on a menu, the ga means chicken, the pho is the noodle. I don't speak Vietnamese, but I know how to order Vietnamese food. I think that goes for a lot of different cultures and cuisines. I don't know to speak Thai, but I know what rice is and I know what like different ingredients are. We are going to add 2 tablespoons of that fish sauce. We will be adding some salt, but you don't need a ton because you're getting a lot of that from that too. So maybe like half a tablespoon. You can taste it and adjust later on too. I'm not superstitious, but I feel like I'm gonna do that. Okay, you're also gonna add a tablespoon of brown sugar. Traditionally, pho uses rock sugar. That's a little harder to find. So you want something that just has a little bit more flavor than your typical white sugar. So any kind of like turbinado sugar, brown sugar, things like that. Mix everything together. It's gonna smell a little intense, but we are going to add the water now. So you want about 4 cups of cold water. And this recipe is super forgiving because you are going to taste that broth later on and see what else it needs. Add more fish sauce, add more salt, add pepper, things like that. So basically you just want to make sure everything is pretty covered and submerged. Those onions are gonna cook down. Once the chicken's on top of it, it'll kind of weigh everything down, but you want some liquid in there for that pressure cooking process. You can use chicken thighs, chicken legs. Highly recommend dark meat because it just adds a little bit more flavor. Okay, so we're gonna put this whole chicken in. Yeah, I'm not a fan of breaking chicken down, so this is my kind of recipe. Just make sure everything is nestled in there. As you can see, I put the chicken in breast side up. It's just gonna help preserve a lot of that meat. Some of the meat on the bottom might break down a little bit, whatever's closest to the burner. So this will keep things whole. I think the rule for the Instant Pot is 1 cup of water at least, and it'll come to pressure. So that's, if it's not covered, that's okay. Once the chicken is nestled in there, you're gonna add a little bit more water, about 3 to 4 cups, and pour off to the side of the chicken so it doesn't splash on you. Okay, so we're actually going to close the lid now. And you want to make sure that this is set to sealing. So that's gonna let it go up to pressure. Close it. Again, that little happy song. So you're gonna end that saute function, and you are going to set it to 10 minutes on high pressure. 10 minutes, I know it sounds crazy, and this is something that people cook for 24 hours. This just helps you do it in no time at home. While the chicken is doing its thing, we are gonna talk noodles. Put the spaghetti noodles down. There's a whole new world of noodles out there, and we'll talk more about that. Today we are specifically talking about rice noodles. This is actually called Banh, and there's different sizes to it. Today we are going medium. I like medium because it fills you up a little bit more. You've got some substance, and it's just a little more hearty. We're actually boiling some water right now, and you're just gonna soak these for about 20 minutes. So once the noodles are done soaking, the broth is gonna be done, things kind of line up and they're ready at the same time. So put your noodles aside, let them do their thing. The cool thing about pho is everyone gets to do it their own way. You make the base of everything, you put it on the dinner table, and the people are responsible for the rest of it. You get to sit back and enjoy your own bowl of pho. We're gonna take an onion, half an onion. I like to use white onions here. It offers a little extra punch than the sweet ones. And you want to slice nice and thin. And as the chicken broth warms the onions, once you top it, it kind of becomes like a part of the noodles too. I don't know why I'm nervous about slicing in front of y'all. So you've got our onions, we're gonna put it in our bowl. I have some cilantro, a little bit of what we have left over from earlier, some green onions, and the lime. Lime is my favorite. I like to put a little bit of lime on the top, and it just helps to brighten everything up. I'm going to pick the cilantro off and put it into the bowl. Some people like the stems. I personally am a fan of the stems. Kind of makes me sad when people slice those stems off right away and don't give them a chance. They're delicious, I promise. Sometimes you'll see mint, some basil. So like I said, you can get pretty creative with this. I'm gonna grab a couple of green onions, bottoms and tops, whatever you're feeling, and then just slice them nice and thin. Don't judge me for my knife skills. I know they're not the best, but they get the job done. It's a work in progress. So the reason I like to use both the white and the green onion is I think they offer different things to the soup. The white kind of stays a little more firm, so you get that like bite of onion flavor, and then the green kind of like dissolves into the soup just to give you more flavor. Okay, and then let's slice up this lime. So I like to do segments for everybody. You can do a little bit of lime, you can do a lot of lime. Sometimes you can just eat it as is first and then add that lime later on for a totally different bowl of soup. It's time to go back to our noodles. They've been hanging out. You can kind of feel it. There is like an al dente feel to them too. Like I said, these will continue to cook. So after about 18 to 20 minutes in this hot bath, you want to rinse it under cold water to stop the cooking process. Once the initial 10 minutes of high pressure cooking is over, I'm holding this because it scares me. You're going to turn the knob and then the pressure will be released. I know that scares a lot of people, so here's some tricks. You can use a wooden spoon to turn it if the steam freaks you out, or if your Instant Pot is underneath your cabinet, you don't want that steam, mucking things up, put a towel over it, whatever works. So I'm gonna use my spoon and we're gonna release that steam. There we go. It's not that bad. It'll just slowly continue to release pressure and then you can open it. There we go. Oh, it smells so good. We've got the chicken perfectly cooked, perfectly moist, and now we just need to strain it and make the broth as pure as possible. That's the sign of a really, really good pho broth, is if it's nice and clear. I know we've taken some shortcuts today, but we are gonna treat this broth with respect, and we're gonna make sure that it's nice and pure. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that chicken out and put it in cold water. So that way later, it's not too hot to handle when you're shredding that meat off. There we go. Let some of that broth drip, because we want all that broth for ourselves. Put it in the cold water. You can even put some ice in here if you're in a hurry. Put some more cold water in there, cool it down, and by the time everything else is ready, that chicken will be ready too. So we're gonna take this very, very hot Instant Pot out from inside. Okay, we're gonna strain this broth on top, and then we're gonna skim the top of it too. All of this onion, ginger, garlic, cilantro, all of that is gonna be strained. It's not a glamorous shot. Okay, cool. We're gonna do a couple. I recommend having a regular strainer to get all the big stuff, and then a fine strainer to get the rest of those spices and whatever, like the chicken bits that are left over. So that way you're not biting into that stuff when you're just trying to drink your soup. Now this is gonna go back into the Instant Pot. We're gonna heat it back up. We're gonna pull that chicken and warm it back up. Ooh, it's perfectly cooked. Super, super moist. That's why I love the Instant Pot. It kind of takes out the guesswork, and it's super moist every time. So always, always, always taste as you go. Oh, it's really good. Ways to season your pho broth, because it will need some seasoning. We've got pepper. We're gonna do a little bit more salt. Fish sauce if you're feeling it. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of salt, actually. It doesn't need a ton. Salt and pepper. All right, so I think it's hot enough. Just mix it all together. You're gonna put the noodles in. You don't ever put the noodles in the broth because it'll just get mushy and kind of disappear into it. That's a pet peeve of mine, is just like overcooked noodles. So start with a little, you can always add more noodles later on if you still have more broth, but you don't need to overdo it at first. I'm gonna put some chicken on there. There we go. I like some onion on mine. I love cilantro, so we're gonna go heavy on the cilantro. And our big moment, this broth that you've worked so hard on by putting it in the Instant Pot and forgetting about it, it's ready to go. And you just want it to cover everything and kind of re-warms everything up, softens up those noodles even more. And my big sister tip for your sriracha and hoisin game, you don't need to get rid of them altogether. I just don't want you throwing it into your broth and not appreciating all the hard work you did. So I'm gonna show you how you still enjoy those flavors without ruining these. So you take your hoisin and your sriracha. These two are usually not ever without each other. And you take a little saucer like this. Okay, you want it kind of flat because there's gonna be some dipping involved. You do half hoisin, then you do half sriracha. There we go, so it's gonna look like that. All right, so you've got your bowl of pho, you've got your dipping sauce. I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of pepper. There we go, that looks good. All right, let me show you how it's done. So your first bite can be just pure, what you have in your bowl. You got a little bit of noodle, that's important. You gotta lay the base. This is my favorite part about eating pho, is just making the perfect bite. This is gonna happen. You put some chicken on. Now where the sauce comes in, when you've had your like pure bite and you've tried your sauce, you do that again. You lay your noodles on and then you dip your meat. You want a little bit of both. And then you put it on top of your bite and you enjoy it. Let's try this chicken. That was a really big bite. Oh, it's good. I'm impressed with myself. So that is easy Instant Pot chicken pho. I hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe for more Asian food hacks and shortcuts, and we'll see you next time.